hidden in just a few verses of the Bible, is one of the most mysterious groups of beings ever mentioned. The Nephilim. Were they giants, fallen angels, or something far stranger? Today, we re-uncovering what the Bible really says and why their story still matters thousands of years later. Welcome back to the channel. We're diving into one of the Bible's most fascinating topics, the Nephilim. Who were they? Giants, fallen angels, powerful warriors? Let's take a clear and biblical look at this ancient mystery. The first and most important place we hear about them is in Genesis chapter 6. The passage describes three groups: the sons of God, the daughters of men, and their offspring, the Nephilim. It says that the sons of God took wives from human women, and their children became the Nephilim, who are described as the mighty men of old, men of renown. The word Nephilim itself likely comes from a Hebrew root word that means fallen ones. So right from the start, we have this idea of power and a mysterious origin. So, were they really giants? Well, another key reference appears much later in the book of Numbers. When the Israelite spies are scouting out the promised land, they come back with a terrifying report. They say they saw people so large that, in their own words, we seemed like grasshoppers in our own sight. This shows that the name Nephilim was strongly associated with exceptional size and strength. Now, it's important to remember this is part of a fearful and possibly exaggerated report from the spies. But it still tells us that the legend of the Nephilim was all about being giant-like and powerful. This brings us to the biggest question of all: who exactly were the sons of God who fathered them? There are three major interpretations. The first and most ancient view is that the sons of God were fallen angels. Many early Jewish and Christian writers believed these were angels who rebelled against God and produced unnatural offspring with human women. This view often connects to passages in Jude and to Peter, which describe angels who abandoned their proper place and are now held in chains. The second view is that this was a story about humanity, not angels. In this interpretation, the sons of God were the godly descendants of Seth, Adam and Eve's third son, and the daughters of men were from the ungodly line of Cain. So, the Nephilim weren't supernatural beings at all, but simply the powerful and corrupt offspring of these mixed spiritual lines. A third view suggests the sons of God were ancient kings or powerful nobles. In this interpretation, these rulers would take any women they wanted by force, and their children became a class of violent, tyrannical warriors. The Bible doesn't explicitly say which view is correct, and that's a big reason why the topic remains so mysterious and debated to this day. So, why are the Nephilim so important in the biblical story? Well, their appearance in Genesis 6 happens right before the story of the Great Flood. The world at that time is described as being filled with corruption and violence. Many scholars believe the rise of these powerful, and possibly unnatural, beings was a key part of the increasing wickedness that led God to judge the world with the flood. But did any Nephilim survive the flood? This is another huge question. Genesis clearly places their story before the flood, but then, hundreds of years later, the spies in Numbers mention them again. How is that possible? There are a few explanations. One is that the term Nephilim just became a general word used to describe any giant or mighty warrior, even if they weren't the same beings from before the flood. Another idea is that the spies were just using a legendary name to describe the huge people they saw. The Bible leaves this part open, and it's a puzzle that keeps people talking. So, what can we say for sure based strictly on the Bible? First, the Nephilim were powerful and fear-inspiring beings. Second, they lived during a time of great moral corruption. Third, they were associated with giant-like strength and size. And finally, their exact nature is a biblical mystery, which is part of what makes the topic so intriguing. Ultimately, the story of the Nephilim isn't just a weird tale about giants. It's part of a larger story about human rebellion, spiritual corruption, and God's ultimate desire to restore righteousness in the world. Even though the details are mysterious, the bigger message is about God bringing order out of chaos and calling His people to live faithfully, even when the world around them is corrupt. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the Nephilim, hit that like button and subscribe for more Bible-based deep dives. And let me know in the comments, which interpretation do you think is correct? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.